This is a fairly famous quote, but one of my favorite ones from Thales, and it's just, the most difficult thing in life is to know yourself. So this next little exercise we're going to go into is exactly that. It's a deep dive into who are we and what makes us tick. And I call it a personal SWOT. For those of you in business, you've seen SWOTs done. SWOTs just stand for strengths, opportunities, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. We do them in business. Several different business schools use them. It's a common business thing. But it dawned on me one time that we don't see it in a personal use. So I tweaked it a little bit to make it a personal SWOT. And the first one with the S is passion or strengths, which I also added passions in. These are the things that you are best at, the things that you love to do. So there's a little chart in the book and in the workbook that there's a little corner that you can fill these things in. But what are the things that you are really passionate about, or you think are your absolute strengths, things that you do really, really well? So we all have them. These are usually pretty easy to think of, the first few of them. So fill in those. Try to get as many as you can listed in there. So it's vital to full understanding of yourself to really tap into those deep ones. And then the weaknesses or dislikes, things that you don't do well at all or that you just can't stand to do. Because we need to understand that side too. We need to know what we're good at, but we also need to know what we're not good at. And then from there, opportunities. So opportunities, you can go back to your list, your magic wand exercise, and look at what are the top 10 things from your magic wand list. If you looked at those 10 things, are those things that if you improved on those 10 things, if you shifted your thinking about yourself to your magic wand in those 10 things, would that move you closer to your dreams? Would that move you closer to your goals? The next one's the barriers and obstacles that we just talked about. So you just did the list of, or will be doing the list of considerations, fears, and roadblocks. Those are your barriers for that barrier section or obstacle section. So put that in there. That's a different one than from a SWOT, but again, it's just having it on one page to know what's in your way of achieving what you want to achieve. And then there's untapped or dormant talents. I added this one because I think there's a lot of us that once you come to the realization that you don't do certain things because people told you that you couldn't do it, you now have the opportunity to go do those things. Or it's things that you once loved to do and you just haven't done it in a long time for whatever reason, lack of time, or somebody said something to you that made you think, I'm not good at that anymore. If you love to paint or draw, art, music, there's lots of people that say, I've always wanted to play a musical instrument and I just never have. I want to play the guitar, or I want to learn to paint, or I want to do photography. These are just all those things, so they're right there in front of you so you can know what you want to accomplish. So those untapped, you've always wanted, you knew you could do it. I want to rekindle that flame of the artist or design or whatever it is for you. Put those in that list. And then the big one, now this is the most difficult of all of them, and it's called blind spots. And it's hard because we can't see them. So we have to rely on the inputs of others to see these. So, and it's not necessarily all negative either. It could be a strength we don't see in ourselves. Sometimes it's a weakness, something we do that's hindering ourselves that we can't see. Sometimes it's an opportunity that we don't see, or it's in that hidden, untapped, dormant talents, that there's a talent we have that we haven't really paid attention to that somebody else sees in us. And the reason this is hard is because you have to trust the person that's going to tell you this, because this can also become a barrier, right? This can become a roadblock if somebody tells you something that is just their impression of you. So it has to be somebody you trust, their opinion of, and then you have to be willing to accept it, or at least weigh and consider it. You don't have to accept anything, right? As Francis Bacon said, we learn new stuff so we can weigh and consider it. We don't have to actually just believe everything we hear. So it's just opening our eyes to what is out there that I don't see about myself. A strength, an opportunity, a weakness, an obstacle, an untapped talent. Just so we have that full understanding that is there something that we're not seeing that's actually going to get in our way. Because that brings us back to this quote that the only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. So as we're doing this, we go through these exercises and do this SWOT so that we can have a full understanding of where we are, our strengths, our passions, the things we're really good at, our weaknesses and dislikes, and the opportunities we have. Now there's this whole thing about strengths and weaknesses, and I write about it a little bit in the book, that should we only work on our weaknesses. So there's one line of thought that says you got to work on these weaknesses in order to get to your goals. To be your best, you've got to fix your weaknesses. There's another line of thought that says forget your weaknesses, work on your strengths and make them their maximal level. So it's conflicting information that's coming out to people. And I think the truth actually is it depends on this. It depends on your opportunities. When you look at your opportunities, do you have to increase your strengths to make it happen? Or is there a weakness that you need to increase that's blocking you? So again, it all comes down to what are you going after? So, for example, in one of the books I use the analogy of a sports team, right? That if somebody's wants to be an offensive lineman and their strength is just size and strength, their weakness is they can't catch the football. By learning to catch the football is not going to make them a better offensive lineman. So they need to maximize their strengths. Now, if one of their weaknesses is they don't have very good footwork, then they need to work on that weakness in order to fulfill the opportunity. So I don't think the answer is one or the other. I think it depends on what you're trying to accomplish. What are you going after? Then decide, is there something in a weakness that I need to improve? Or is it that I need to put my attention on developing my strengths and utilizing my strengths to their fullest capacity? Again, it goes back to like Pareto's principle. If we're spending all of our time on our weaknesses, then we're not utilizing our strengths to their fullest capacities. But it all comes down to what are you trying to accomplish so that you can see that. Oops, keep forgetting to clear my scribble marks. So go through this exercise, get as many things down on that. And again, this is pretty personal stuff, so this isn't the kind of stuff you want laying around all over the place for people to look at. Be brutally honest with yourself. Put it down there so you have access to it, and then only give access to the people you want to have access to it. And make sure that it's to help you reach your destiny and not just putting it out there so that people can talk you out of it. So with that, I thank you for your time and attention.